Here's my buddy Steve Mariucci on Mondays with Mooch here. Was my mic open, Mike Del Tufo? Are you all right?
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
I had to reopen it.
That's okay. I think what happened, there was a partial tear in the fascia on your audio board. It's essentially what just happened right there. Because, he's had that, Steve, our man, Mike Del Tufo, from way back in the day on the NFL Network, he's had the partially torn fascia and a foot injury as well, like Peyton Manning. And did you have that once upon a time, Steve?
You said Del Tufo had it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, Mooch.
From what? Anyway, yes.
From sitting.
Hey, Del Tufo, listen, I'm coming. I think I'm going to, I love being home doing this show, Rich. I really do.
Yes.
But I want to come in live next week, Monday, okay? But if I do, you got to have Del Tufo bring something in like melon and prosciutto or something, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Make your ziti for him.
I'll have meatballs and ziti for you. I promise. If you come in.
All right, I'm there.
Lock it in.
Live, okay.
So what do you make of Peyton? What do you make of Peyton in this injury and how it affects him and what they need to do moving forward, Steve?
You know what? When you have plantar fasciitis, man, I mean, it's hard. It's painful. I had it. When I was coaching the Niners, I had it. And I used to jog, right? Mm-hmm. The word used to was ended because of plantar fasciitis, and then I never got back to it, obviously. And so it's painful. Every case is a little different. I know some guys that got shots, in their heel and all down there, and that's really tough treatment. But you have orthotics and you have treatment, and man, you can't even get out of bed in the morning. It's like, oh my God, he didn't practice last week until Friday a little bit, which is in shorts, right, and a little bit on the walkthrough, and so he's going to be nursing this thing all season without a doubt.
So what about this week, and then the fact if Osweiler goes and he performs well, what do you do? Is any part of Kubiak's thinking involved with I've got to finish the year with Peyton Manning because he's the guy that we could win playoff games with just by experience alone? But if he goes to Osweiler now, he knows that might actually be difficult to do in what might be Peyton Manning's last year. Is this what's going through Kubiak's mind at all, Steve, do you think?
A little bit, yeah, I suppose it is, because if anybody deserves to play and finish up his season and his career because of your past and who you are, it's Peyton Manning. And I can see them resting him a week, trying to calm that down and let Osweiler play against their old coach, John Fox, over there in Chicago. But then, hey, here comes Tom Brady. All right? Mm-hmm. Don't we want to see another rematch between Peyton Manning and Tom Brady? And I know Peyton wants that too. I think they all do. But it's going to be a tough thing because, obviously it's easy if it's a healthy Peyton Manning. You play as well as you possibly can at age 39. But if he's still gimpy, man, he looked hurt. He was playing, it didn't look good, and he'd be the first one to admit it. So they got to get him well because they can't put him out there again if he's hurting that badly.
Well, what if Peyton's going to talk his way into playing? I mean, have you ever been in that business end of that where players trying to talk their way in?
Absolutely. The star players that are so prideful, Rich, want to play. You have to they want to practice. I used to tell Jerry Rice and some of these guys and Steve Young, all right, in training camp, you're getting that day off. What? I don't want a day off. I never want to practice off. I want to practice every single time. And I had anybody over 30, I would make them, kind of spread out those practices and stay fresh as possible. They want to play and participate. That's what makes them tick. And so I'm hoping that he gets well or well enough to play okay because he doesn't look well.
Steve Mariucci joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. What's wrong with the Packers offense, Steve? What are you seeing?
Gosh. A lot of things, football's such a complicated sport, and there's so many parts to it. But start with the obvious change, in play caller. Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers have been a great team for a lot of years, and Tom Clements now is the play caller. But I will promise you that Aaron Rodgers, was welcoming to that. He likes it. He likes Tom Clements. And if he didn't like it, he said, this is the problem, they'd change it back. I promise you they would change it back.
He said in his press conference yesterday when asked about it, he doesn't have a problem with it at all. So clearly this is done for Rodgers' comfort, and he gave the check mark on it. But if Mike McCarthy, sees what's happening out there and it is a play-calling situation, or is it the fact that Jordy's not there, that Jordy Nelson's not there, and it's finally coming home to roost 10 games into the season, Steve?
Jordy Nelson, the lack of Jordy Nelson is one issue, but then they signed James Jones, and and that's a great story. James Jones has been very productive over there, and he is. He's not a fast guy though. Devontae Adams now at 21 targets, the kid over here from Fresno State, and he's coming along. He's not Jordy Nelson yet. Randall Cobb seems to be a little injured or something. Something's not the same as it used to be. So what happens in their the passing game is these receivers without the deep threat, the fast guy, they're getting locked down a little bit. I see more bump and run coverage, it seems. I see lack of separation with some of these receivers. So Aaron is holding the ball a little bit. They've had some protection problems. They've been sacked 22 times. And Aaron Rodgers is, I don't know if he's confident in the protection. Look, he's under duress more than he has been. So you add it all up, and now Aaron's, ultimately not playing the same way. And so, and then we could go on with the defense and special teams that gave up the kickoff return. The team's in a funk. It's a heck of a team. I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. I don't know what you did, Rich.
Right.
I think you might have too. And right now they're in a bit of a slump, but they've got to get some things fixed. Eddie Lacy didn't even suit up, right? He's hurt. Mm-hmm. So they're getting a little thin. The offensive line, we talk protection. It's the same exact offensive line. All 5 starters are the same as last year.
Right.
So it's kind of a head scratcher as to why all this is happening.
I got to be honest with you. I chose Seattle to go back. That's not looking too good of a pick right now. What about the Cowboys with Jason Garrett, 7 in a row? What in the world can he possibly do, Steve? Because they've blown leads in their last 4. It seems like nothing's working. Is Romo the savior? Because that's basically that's the basket they're putting every single 2015 egg into right now, Steve.
When all the things that are happening, Rich, with Dallas, and there are a lot, it wasn't just Romo, but Romo's the franchise quarterback. And then Dez and his injuries and his blow-ups, and then Hardy, and then Joseph Randall, and you name it. And then 7 in a row losses, and they were expected to do well, and I thought they would too. I went to their training camp. They looked great. Anyway, I went through it when Steve Young got hurt. And our team went into a tailspin like crazy, after he was hurt. When Peyton Manning got hurt in Indianapolis, they went into a tailspin. And the same thing's happening without Tony Romo. Now, the good news here with Dallas is Tony Romo supposedly is coming back this week.
Right.
I worry about that with a clavicle break. I do. Remember Charles Rogers in Detroit? He had a clavicle break after the 5th week. He missed the whole season. Came back the next year, and it re-injured. It broke on his first catch, and that was 11 months later. So I hope Tony's not coming back too soon. But that's part of the good news, that he is coming back soon. The other thing is the division is not out of reach, right? I mean,
No.
they're 2-7,
right?
But the leading team is the Giants, 5-5. So it's not like they're in Carolina's division or somebody. So that's the good news. But Jason Garrett has got to keep hope alive. That's the trick of a coach. It's not just motivate and teach and scheme and blah, 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 rah, rah, rah. It's when you're having a slump, and every team will have a slump, you have to have your team believing that they can win, and there's a reason why to win, and keep practicing and pushing forward with confidence and optimism. Keeping hope alive is one of the real roles of a head coach, along with the adversity. So Jason Garrett's got to have that team believing, hey, we're getting Tony back, Dez is back. We're only a few games out. Let's go. It's right there for us.
Steve,
so
yeah.
I think he will try. I don't know if it'll be accomplished.
Steve Mariucci, let's take a minute's break, and when we come back, what makes Mooch most mad, I think, has to do with what we've been talking about for the first 90 minutes of this show. And a catch, not a catch. Lots of people are on hold. Don't hang up.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.